So here we are talking about 5G. What is 5G and what does it do to the body? Because they say it's safe. 5G. What happens when you get a radiation signal coming along? What's a radiation signal? Anything with radio waves or having high frequency waves coming at you, and you might have seen somebody at some stage draw sort of circles like this. Oh, I feel good or I feel bad, and the waves come away from the body. And they do, they wave out. But what about incoming waves? What if these things are coming at you from the outside and go right through you? Does it affect you at all? Well, you can't see them, so maybe it's all okay. And then when you pick up a cell phone, and this is my makeshift cell phone, you're talking to somebody around the world. If you think that your cell phone is the only place that you're hearing that person, the signal here that you're hearing now, coming through the cell phone device to your ear that you're hearing, if I move it over here, does that mean to say that the signal will disappear? No. It means that if this picks it up here and it picks it up here, that means that the frequency reaching this particular cell phone and being turned from signal into audible voice is everywhere in the room. Where you pick up your cell phone, or in this case here my duster or rubber, and you can see all around it. There are flashes of energy everywhere, and they're all signals coming in that people are affected by when they pick this up. They think, this is just talking to me, nothing else, but look what's going on around me. This is where it gets kind of scary. So here's me with my phone again, and all the stuff that's going on around us, which I've now taken off. But what happens if we concentrate all of that energy into one beam? One very small bandwidth, they call it. It's about this big, and it just goes up and down like a zigzag sewing machine on what you would find on a shirt or on clothing, and it does this through the atmosphere, which is why they need so many of these towers around, so that they can focus and aim these things, powerful beams, directly at something else to send it off to your cell phone. Let's just turn around, and I'm going to show you something which is what it might look like. Now that beam on my hand here is a light. It's a laser light. It's very, very bright. It's very hard to look at from my side. This is not about it's safe. This is about it being untested to be safe, proven to be safe. 5G might be all what they say it is, but the atmosphere becomes saturated with all of this electronic stuff, and your brain cell is being affected, not by itself, by the billions of others you've got inside your head, by the billions you've got throughout your body, and this includes your vital organs, your lungs, your diaphragm, your brain, your thinking matter, your eyesight, everything is affected by it. Do you really want to have that happening to you when they haven't proven it yet? What's their ulterior motive? So although I'm just filming this stuff raw and I make it up in my own house here, it's a case of I'm trying to bring to your attention that you are not in an empty space. It is saturated with radio, television, audio, cell phone, every other signal you can think of is coming through your body in this room right now, including the stuff that's in nature. Things that you can't see either. Neutrinos are going right through you, X-rays are going right through you, gamma rays are going right through you. Some are safe, some are not. We're designed for nature, we're not designed for the stuff that man is creating, which in the case of this stuff here, has been used as a weapon in war. A weapon to hurt people at a distance with lasers. Very, very dangerous. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, here I have a New Zealand 50-cent piece. They're getting smaller, by the way, thanks to one of our industrious leaders of the past. I'm going to show you what happens in this. This is a piece of aluminium, it's an aluminium trough, and I'm going to put my hand at the bottom down here, and I'm going to slide this coin down that channel. Just have a look at this. Didn't take long to get there, did it? Just slides right down to the bottom. This is a magnet. Now this material is aluminium, and magnets, they don't stick to each other. They would just fall off. So it doesn't pick it up. But what happens if I drop this down the tube as well? So just like the other coin, which was quite heavy, light, this is heavier than the coin. Not that it makes much difference with gravity, but watch now when I let the coin go, or should I say the magnet go. No trickery in that. That did it all by itself. How did a magnet meeting another metal make a difference? Do you want me to do it again? In fact, I'll even make it roll down there so it's got really virtually no friction. So there it is, it's just rolling down the channel. Now that might seem fascinating, but how did it happen? It doesn't really matter. It's actually an electrical mechanical, or should I say an electromechanic activity. What it does is one thing affects the other, creates a back EMF, which is an electromagnetic field, and then it slows down the magnet just dropping on a piece of aluminium. It's a natural phenomena. What happens inside your brain when you have this great big bright light here, which is a laser wave that you can't see going through your skull? You can't see these microwaves. You look into an oven, you can't see what's happening to the material on the inside, but all of the water molecules are vibrating and they're getting hot. They rub together and they get hot. So do you think electromagnetic fields may affect you? They sure do. So when we get in talking shortly to Tony Adelaine and I go through some of the motions, I just wanted you to see this so that you're aware of the danger of 5G. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not okay. 5G shouldn't be here because we don't know what the real motive is behind it. Conspiracy theory? Possibly. But who knows? We cannot dispel it yet. Thanks for watching this part. Let's get into the next meaty bit of the conversation from an expert. This guy is the expert, so here I am listening to somebody who knows what they're talking about, that I brought up so that you can start to understand this stuff much better. Okay, take it away. How does it start? Where does it all come from when you want to get your home running with your TVs and cell phones and whatnots, and how it comes in?
Right, so fibre optic cable comes from the cloud network, right? Connects into a little box. The fibre cable is then run within the house or the premises. Fibre optic cable.
So all of this is safe, as in frequencies.
That's correct. So remember, when we're talking about a fixed connection, there is no frequency. It's only light. It's just light down the cable.
Yeah.
Right. So pure light running down that fibre optic cable, the thickness of a human hair, to your devices. So not only is it super fast, it's super safe, and super secure. Fibre will surpass what we see as radio technology.
So just offhand, this 5G tower,
Yes.
if you had, instead of putting this tower out and boards like spanning the scan all over the place, it's projected energy. If you took fibre into your house, you've overcome this need.
That's correct.
So this isn't required if you have fibre in here for what you're using, including your Wi-Fi for your smart devices.
That's correct.
So this is an expensive item.
Well, now we're getting into some interesting dynamics here, because 5G won't be able, you won't access 5G with your current handheld smartphone. The hype around 5G is that you won't need any cabling, you won't need any fixed network. This is going to solve everything. This is going to run autonomous vehicles. So this is vehicles that basically you sit in self-drives, right? And self-drives you everywhere that you want to go.
So you need these all over the place to do that.
You need one of those to be installed once every five lots, or once every 5 homes, or once every 5 buildings. But here's the other thing. 5G, so if you think about 5G, to be able to do that with 5G, that is yet to be seen in a commercial environment. Let's talk about just the bandwidth capabilities for 5G to do that in a 10-story hotel. How's that going to be possible? What are the frequencies that we are exposing people to over those spectrums? If you just look at what the FCC, so it's the FCC.
What's the FCC?
So the FCC is an international body,
right,
which basically sets the safety standards.
Okay, all right, yep.
Still a lot of questions. Some cities around the world, in Europe and some states in the US, some towns have actually outlawed 5G until there is further investigation.
So we're playing with some unknowns here.
There are a lot of unknowns. There are more question marks. There are more questions at the moment than what there are answers.
Yeah.
So So here's the question. If that is so good, which we know it is, why do we need such powerful transmission towers around everywhere, every 5 blocks? Why do we need that? And that's, draining the electrical grid, but also blasting us with this incredibly high electromagnetic spectrum and bandwidth.
Now, the biggest fear and why people are really pushing the ban against 5G is because it's untested. We're getting people who are saying it's got these negative qualities, and yet we couldn't be pumping it out as fast as they are, or putting them up, and not telling people. To me, it's just something that I'm concerned about, because I use a microwave, and not many people like, or some people don't like microwaves, but the word microwave oven, it's talking about minuscule waves of energy coming out which literally heat up water, or not heat water, vibrates water so fast, it's like rubbing your hands together and it gets warm. So that's what microwaves do. And nobody wants to open up a microwave, take the door off, jimmy the switches, and turn the microwave on it and look at something's turning around on the plate, because it's dangerous.
What we're talking about here with 5th generation mobile technology is we're talking about spectrums of 2100, 1900 and 800. This is megahertz of frequency.
And therefore, what we're talking about is not just a wave of energy like throwing a pebble in a pond, you get waves coming out. We're talking about this, is that right?
Correct. So that's right. So now this is interesting, because it's not only do this 5G, so 5th generation mobile, work on these higher spectrums.
Yeah.
It also is designed to work in very low frequency spectrums.
So 6 gigahertz.
So from 6 gigahertz to 2.4. Sorry, 6 megahertz to 2.4.
Is it megahertz? Is it?
Megahertz, yeah.
Okay. So
Megahertz to 24. It's designed to work in much lower frequencies. Now, that in itself is a concern, because when we start getting into low frequencies, and there's a lot of scientific data that shows that long-term exposure to low frequencies for humans is not good. After the Christchurch earthquakes, what was also really interesting is that a lot of people were getting irritable bowel syndrome.
they were huge amount
And
of people.
irritable bowel syndrome and serious irritable bowel syndrome is also it is connected with extra low frequency wave generation.
So on those extra low frequencies as you're going down here, which was affecting animals, it's affecting, potentially affecting people, because irritable bowel syndrome, I have people I know very well in Christchurch who did have problems with the bowels,
Yes.
and even a couple that had not just bowels, but they had stroke as well, which is really, really sad. It's just these healthy people. Now, I'm not saying that was caused by that, all those frequencies, it just happened across the board, and frequencies are something that affect people. Up here with what Tony was just saying, is understanding the frequencies, understanding high energy or very low frequencies have different effects on people, and it's worth understanding that if this can affect us, can we find out first? Can we find out whether or not 5G should be held back? Should it be more information come out so that we feel safe? Because companies that would roll this out here, whether it's good or not so good, you're going to have a resistance from people when they get frightened. Alleviating our fears would be to literally show them that it is safe. We are in the middle of a soup of high frequency energy. Anything that's in here that's not tested, and these are high frequencies, as you can pick up on Wikipedia? Mm-hmm. You've picked it up on. 2 other ones which have been okay and qualified, and it's all going well. We need to know that this is safe. Having an expert like Tony here, and if you want to carry on with a bit more of that you were talking about, I'd like you to.
So one of the things I want to re-stipulate as well is that it's not conducive either way. So it's premature to say either way what is good or what is bad, what is conclusive. But it is fair to say there are still a lot of questions that do need to be answered. What are the lab results on that? You know, what have they tested on? And also, who's the objective group that tested that conducted the tests and that took that data and published it, and who peer reviewed it. And these are all the questions that need to be discussed. And look, at the end of the day, if it turns out that we can say conducively and collectively, and I'm talking about the royal we, I'm talking about the people, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, who are much more qualified than what we are,
Yeah.
who are raising these concerns. And I think very valid concerns. And these are people that, as we said, that they're from, they're not from fluffy, types of backgrounds or industries. These are people who are scientists. They come from universities. They're fellows at universities. They're trained scientifically. A lot of their careers have been based on this technology and an understanding of this at a much more in-depth level. And we're talking biophysically. We're talking electromagnetically. We're talking about all of those culminations of things that need to be looked at in terms of also down to the point of what we said before, not just human exposure, but animal exposure, plant exposure. The other thing that we haven't talked about is the collective frequencies from an atmospheric exposure. Now, that there was a statement made by NIWA, dare I say it, that they retracted. I'd like to know more about that, about how there were concerns around the effects of 5G, electromagnetic spectrums, and climate change. Right? We're worried about so many things right now. We're worried about disease. We're worried about political issues. We're worried about, cybersecurity issues, which we won't get into in this situation. But what about just the environmental and health issues? And ironically, that the irony in all of this is we're so busy looking at our shoulder at all these things, we're not paying attention to the one very thing that could jump out and hit us in the future as probably either the biggest leap forward we've ever made in human evolution, or maybe the biggest mistake. And once again, when we're talking about something that touches all of us in these sorts of spectrums, there's also inverse effects on our immune system. We're looking at our shoulder and being worried about disease. If we have a compromised immune system, this could be the thing. I'm just not saying that it is.
No.
That triggers it globally, right? Because contagions require a low immune environment. One of the things that we've been talking about is things like measles, because we won't get into the discussion of vaccinations, but we're talking about immune response to these diseases. Once again, there is a lot of research that proves that. So all I'm saying is that by creating one problem, we can have a ripple effect into multiple other areas that we never even imagined.
Right.
And once we've opened that can of worms and that spills out, it's really hard to get that lid back on again. This technology is already dated. It's already dated. But the thing is, what I can do with this technology today is I can sell it. I can sell this today, and I can make you buy my devices, I can make you buy my hardware, I can make you believe through my marketing campaign, just by putting 5G on my boxes, I can make you believe you're going to get something better. But are you? That's going to be replaced. This is the most basic end of the scale in telecommunications.
I quite like the idea of going back into fibre.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, you're involved in that industry, and
Correct.
you wouldn't be there because you're a person who understands the technology. When people sell stuff to you, of any sort, whether it's from me, from a marketing person, or someone who's telling you a story, you tend to believe it unless somehow it's been proven otherwise. And just to, I think, kind of wind this particular part up, there was once a famous vacuum cleaner that came from overseas, and she was a beauty, and it was really, really expensive. And we had a salesperson come to my home, and he said, "Do you mind? I want to give you a demonstration. Do you have a vacuum cleaner?" Yes, we did. So he asked us if he could pull the mattress covers off the bed, which he did. he then said, could you please vacuum the surface of your mattress? Which we did. We vacuumed it thoroughly to make sure it's thorough. And then he got a special vacuum cleaner and he put a piece of white cloth as it entered the vacuum part of the device, took the hose down and then vacuumed over the surface of where we had just vacuumed, pulled out the white cloth, and there was an obvious gather of grey looking dirt or something on the mattress. And I was quite taken by it. What the salesman didn't realise was he was talking to another salesman. And so after he basically did that, I went, wow, that's fascinating. So I got another piece of white cloth, put my vacuum in the same condition that he did, put it up against the machine, and went over the same place that he'd just been over with his vacuum cleaner, and voila, I had the same marks that he did. So in other words, his vacuum cleaner wasn't superior at all. Mine did the same job after his vacuum had been through it. It was the collective dust that was being dragged up from elsewhere. So you've got to be careful in here. I'd like to know that this is safe so I can use it, and that when we're ramping up technology, we're not ramping down human biology to an area where it's dangerous, hence the measles epidemic or anything like that. It's not against 5G, it's understanding it. And I think once you understand it, show the people that it's safe, show them what it can do, and let them roll with it. Because people, as you'll see when the new iPhone comes out, they're lining up at midnight for the door to open up in the shop to grab that piece of information or that technology. I love technology. It's getting us to where we are today, and things will come from it. But today's exposure about understanding that the Chorus network up here in the cloud, and cloud doesn't mean clouds on the sky, it just means the network that's all up there that you can put your information up. It comes into your home. I have an expert here to give us that information, and I've seen this operating in his home. We're going to take the camera off the stand now and literally show you a track of the fibre, and I don't want you to point it out until I'm saying where is it, and you're just going to give it a little wiggle, and you've still got your little light feed coming on here. In fact, I'd like you to just pull it off and put it back on again. Would you do that for me? Sure. So we'll watch that. So I'll fade out here, and thank you so much for giving this information. Do not forget this man's name. This is his company. I can guarantee that that name is a great name. Why is that, Tony?
Because you made it up, Peter.
Well, you gave me the information, and I think that fits with you perfectly. And you are breaking up the spectrum. You're going somewhere with this, and I'm really impressed. This is good, healthy technology. So don't forget this man.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm now going to take the laser pen and I'm going to put it into this connector. Now this connector is connected to a fibre optic cable.
I can see that cable though.
You can see that cable. This is a patch cord which I'm using to plug into the invisible fibre optic cable.
Okay, so it's like a temporary hose.
That's correct. So if you come around the side here,
Come around the side here, what have we got?
you'll see that we've got I've opened a wall mounted jack point which would normally be closed, and I've opened that for you so you can actually see our invisible fibre in here. So that's our invisible fibre there. As you can probably just see, it looks like fishing nylon.
It is.
But inside that fibre optic, inside there is a fibre optic glass cable.
Where is it? Could you point it out?
So the fibre is actually here on top of the skirting. So that invisible fibre is actually running over the top of that skirting there.
Good heavens. And so it's going from there to where? Oh, hang on. Here's a bit. You've got in a bit of a loop, is it?
That was a very slight little loop that we put there so we could see it as we're tracing it in our test environment.
Good heavens.
So it just looks like a spider web.
So what's holding that on the wall?
We have a very special adhesive that we've developed that is clear also, and it's a non-solvent based adhesive, and it's also environmentally friendly. So as you can see, the invisible fibre runs through the top of the skirting.
Yep.
And is connecting through another junction box. And as you can see, the laser is here at the other end, right? And you can see the laser is reflecting off this plate.
So I think we're going to be punching this along and giving you a wee bit of support, because I like the idea, because I know it's extremely safe, and also know who's putting it in. So WCN Networks, or WCN Limited, I'm supporting that one. Thanks for your time today, Tony. You've been really, really helpful. This is brilliant. Thanks kindly.